Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs postgame show podcast. It is bright and early or dark and early. Take your pick. It is early, and the Cubs
It's
have
late.
lost a frustrating game to the Dodgers that really they had no business even being in anyways. Luke Stuckmeyer, Cody Delmendo, Ryan Herrera with you. After a 10-8 loss to the Dodgers, the Cubs fail to sweep the Dodgers in LA. Looked like they were going to have a chance. They battled back after a horrific start to the game in the bottom of the first, and then they cubbed their way out of it by I don't know what they were doing on the base paths again. It's a frustrating finish to the game. I will say this, Cody and Ryan: when the other team hits 5 home runs, you're not going to win. You're not going to win very many, and in reality. That team hit 8 home runs in the last 2 days. They're probably lucky they won one of these games.
Yeah.
So we can be frustrated,
Yeah,
but we're also probably fortunate that you split these last 2 games of the series as well.
Well, especially when you give 4 home runs in the first inning, right? 4
First
in the
time in
first inning of a
Dodgers
game.
history. First time in Dodgers history, 4 homers in the first inning.
I mean, Ohtani hit that ball 118 miles per hour. It felt like Cubs were in for a long day. Jordan Wicks, they were just seeing Jordan Wicks as good as I've seen anyone see Jordan Wicks. Obviously, he hasn't pitched a ton this year because of injuries, but from Shohei Ohtani on, it looked like the whole lineup just saw Wicks really well. They jumped out to a big lead. It was 7-3, right? When the Cubs made their comeback to tie up the score. But at that point, like it obviously is you're putting a lot of pressure on the offense to come back in a game like that. You're putting a lot of pressure on the bullpen to basically be perfect against a lineup that as good as the Dodgers, maybe like arguably the best lineup in baseball, probably the best lineup in baseball. You're putting a lot of pressure on the other 2 phases of the game, defense as well, included in that to be perfect after that point. And the offense did what it felt like close to enough. And then the 3-run home run off Wingenter felt like the killer. And like you mentioned, base running I wouldn't say it's a tough one to stomach because, like you said, they probably shouldn't have been in that game. But it is a tough one to watch, knowing that they kind of ran themselves out of opportunities on multiple sides of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, before I say what I'm about to say, I'm just acknowledging that it doesn't matter. The season is over. However, Milwaukee was going to lose tonight. They're getting blown out. The Padres are going to lose tonight, pretty sure. And then, I think those, and the Braves lost. So you, as much as it doesn't matter, you had an opportunity. You had an opportunity to sweep the Dodgers, and you were down 7-3. It wasn't like it was 10-2. Like, I understand it's the Dodgers, but the way that this offense is played on the road in the month of September, I wouldn't say that they had no chance of coming back to win this game. But we've praised PCA since the end of July, but almost getting thrown out and it leading to Bush getting out at third when there's only one out there in that one inning.
That's a killer.
That killed the rally. And I'm not going to say that's the reason they lost the game, but man, they had one out and they would have had bases loaded still. And they were like, the Dodgers were reeling. Miller had just given up the 3-run shot to Bellinger, and Hudson came in and he couldn't throw strikes either. And you felt like you had him. You felt like you were going to do what you did last night too. And you let him off the hook in classic 2024 Cubs fashion, getting thrown out on the bases. It's just like, I'm so exhausted, man. I can't wait for the season to be over. I've never been more exhausted from this baseball team in my life. Seriously, I've never been more exhausted. This is for as disappointing as the season has been for fan expectations coming this year. I'm exhausted. No matter what happens over the next 2 weeks, there's just a little part of me that just wants to be wrong about the season being over. There's a little part of me that wants to be wrong about it. And they're not giving it to me. They're not giving it to me, and it makes me hate them even more. It's just like it's just a waste of time, man.
Luke, is this as exhausting of a season as like 04 was?
No, 04 was a total disaster, and the end of 07 and 08 were just 08. I just didn't see coming. You know what I mean?
Those teams made the playoffs.
They made the playoffs. This team was supposed to take the next step, and they hired a manager, the highest paid manager in baseball, and we were supposed to get all the little things that take a team from good to the next level. Even if it wasn't guys taking the next step, which you had Bush come through, you've had PACA now take the step, you've had some other guys come through. This team has been terrible at the little details all season. All season. And the crazy part is they paid them. You can't blame all of it on him, but these were the things that we thought he would impact greatly, and how he would get the Brewers from a roster that was kind of flawed. And you would say, how did the Brewers get here? Oh, he gets the most out of his teams. They've done the little things poorly all season long. Now, I get the PCA thing. Hey, man, you got to live with it sometimes. We praise him for all the stuff he does in the field last night. We crowned him as the next great superstar in baseball, basically, right? Got to remember, he's also a rookie who does some stupid stuff in baseball games. Yeah. And he's done it fairly consistently throughout the season. He has some bonehead plays. And the guy at third should have stayed at third, also a rookie. Okay. Yeah. Yes, they killed the inning. It was a big thing. I would assume what we just saw here in the ninth inning with the bases loaded and nobody out, and then one out, I would assume that was a Craig Counsell double steal.
Yeah, my thought is that it came from the bench, which it's kind of like like Dempster said on the broadcast, like, you understand being aggressive, whatever, but you have to be right. The guys have to be safe. Otherwise, you're going to get criticized for it. Clearly, the guys were not. Well, Suzuki wasn't safe at third. I mean, you had a lefty up who, like, obviously throwing down to third with a left-handed hitter is easier than with a right-handed hitter, and so that impacts a decision potentially. But the Cubs have been, like, I think the last half of the season have been a lot better about being on the bases, or just in general on the bases, but definitely stealing bases. Like, I was looking, they have like the 6th most stolen bases or something like that, and like the 3rd or 4th best stolen base like success percentage, I guess, if you want to call it that. But in that situation, you got 1 out, 2 guys on, 1st and 2nd. Like, if you're gonna call a double steal, you got to be right. You got to be right. The guys got to be safe. And like I said, clearly Suzuki was out at third base. That's a point where you look back and it's like, if you're going to call that, you got to be right. And today it wasn't.
And Kopech was sweating bullets on the mound. Like, he was terrified. He was. Yeah. It was like watching Kopech with the White Sox meltdown. Like, you had him on the ropes. Why let him off? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand it at all.
Yeah. To me, it was almost like Craig just assumed that they weren't going to throw down the third. It was like one of those, like, oh, they're up by 2 runs. They're just going to let us take these bases. Like, I don't, it was 10-8 at that point. So you had the tying run on second base. I don't get the logic.
I don't know if that was the logic there.
I'm just saying that's what it feels like, because we see it in the late innings all the time. But like, I don't want to believe that that's the logic, because that's incredibly stupid. But
I don't think that's the logic, because you're down, you're only up 2 runs at that point. You let them take the base, then you got the tying run is at second base and a base hit scores. I wouldn't think that's the logic. That, like you said, like, that would be dumb logic. Yeah, but I don't think that the logic was these guys aren't going to throw down to third.
Yeah. So
I can't wait to see what he says afterwards.
Yeah. It it was another inevitable fake rally that, it's just like
season full of them.
Like Luke said, he walked the bases loaded. He walked the bases loaded. And it just, Paredes had a great night. 3 walks, a sac fly, and a single. And it's just like you can't, man, you can't double steal there, in my opinion. You got to let Bush try, who's had a good series. You got to let him try and keep it going there. And as soon as Seo was thrown out, you just knew that they killed the rally themselves. And that's just the story of this team's season. Like, they've just hurt themselves more often than not. It hasn't even really necessarily been the teams that they've played. Like, yeah, sure, there have been stretches where this team clearly doesn't look nearly as talented as other teams, but they have 75 wins. I could probably go on the schedule, find 10 games where they hurt themselves with all the things that we're talking about, whether it's base running, bad defense, just those things. And then we can add in all the ones where they blew it in the 8th or 9th inning because they didn't have a closer. It's just disappointing, man. And I don't even know why I'm mad. Whatever.
Nick in the chat is asking why why we're not talking about them Wicks giving up 5 in the first. We did at the top.
We
of the
did.
show.
The point is, the crazy thing is that not only did they do that, they still tied the game.
Yeah. It puts you in a hole for sure. Like, you give up 3, 4, you have 2 or 3 runs. You're talking about a team that's ahead in the game, and maybe you do go back to Porter, Hodge, or Nate Pearson, who have been your more higher leverage guys lately, who I think have pitched 2 of the last 3 games. So maybe was trying to avoid them today. You just give up less runs as the starting pitcher. The team is in a better position to win a ball game. Obviously, there are points where this happens, and lineups and defense and like bullpens need to pick up the starter, right? And that's what the rest of the team did for the majority of the game. Like we said at the top of the show, like when you're giving up 5 runs in the first inning, you're putting your team in a hole that's hard to come out of.
It was far and away his worst start as a professional, or at the major league level, at least. 4 homers in the first inning. I went and looked up his game logs, and I mean, it's not hard to just see the very small list because he's been hurt this year. 8 starts this season? He gave up 6 earned to the Brewers the last game of the season last year when it didn't matter anyway. But other than that, most of his game logs, at least in terms of earned runs, have been pretty good. To me, this was his worst start of his career, and he's just coming back from that oblique injury, and I'm not saying that he is going to be, top 3 of the rotation good at some point. All I'm saying is that the guy's young, the guy's a rookie, and he's coming off an injury. And it's just like to have any kind of huge expectations for him, in this so-called playoff race, it's just like unrealistic. I mean, what he did for them last year was awesome. It was great. And that's why, in some ways, a lot of ways, it's been disappointing for him this year in terms of injuries, but I can't blame a guy for getting hurt. Today was awful. It wasn't good. And I expect him to be better. But anyone who thinks that, he's not part of the future, there was a lot of people in my mentions saying that, like, I don't see that. Like, no one's ever said that Jordan Wicks is going to be an ace. I think we all believe he's a middle of the rotation guy who can eat innings, be a Jameson Taillon type guy, maybe a Kyle Hendricks type guy at peak, is what Jordan Wicks can be. Like that's all I've ever thought of him. And that's still a really good pitcher. So again, like what we say with all young players, you gotta wait it out. You gotta let them develop. People giving up on Jordan Wicks already. Remember when y'all gave up on PCA? Boom, roasted. All right.
We will talk more about Wicks and the home runs. And I don't know who had the wager for Tommy Edman hitting 2 more home runs tonight, but you probably won some money. The place to do it, Circa Sportsbook. Whether it's pro or college, by the way, the app to bet football is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, or in-game. Circa Sports has it. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 and older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And some beers can say they're brewed for baseball, but only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. Beer and baseball just go together, and no beer goes better than the one that was literally born in a ballpark. Blue Moon, created at Coors Field in Denver, Colorado, where the Cubs are headed next. It's the natural choice all season long. Right now, summertime shy still with us, so give me a Blue Moon to cool off. Nothing beats watching baseball or football like having one with an ice-cold Blue Moon. Blue Moon was brewed by baseball to give you a dose of nostalgia and get you excited for the new season. A beer this good only comes around once in a Blue Moon, but you can enjoy it all season long. Bring the ballpark to you with Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale. It's one of a kind every time. Make sure you get your Blue Moon delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO to see your delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Blue Moon, made brighter. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Plenty of home runs in this game. Seiya Suzuki and Cody Bellinger provided the power for tonight's game, presented by the Illinois pork producers. Savor the flavor, savor the gains, and celebrate any occasion by enjoying the best pork produced by Illinois' pig farmers. Seiya now with 20 on the season, Bellinger with 17. I ask you, is it getting any more likely that Cody Bellinger will opt out after this season?
I mean, I've still been on kind of the thought that I would lean that he is going to opt out, unless, assuming health, like unless a major injury happens, that would obviously affect his decision.
Sure.
Or just he doesn't hit for the last 3 weeks of the year, whatever it is. I've been leaning towards that he would opt out. I think the idea of getting maybe not the AAV that he has with the Cubs, but a little more long-term security is something that he would want. That's obviously why he would, he was a free agent last year. Mm-hmm. Something that what he wanted at his age. He's 29 right now, or he's going to be 29. He's right there somewhere.
Yeah.
I would still lean that my lean is that he would opt out. Hitting the way he is and showing that he can finish the year off on a good note would help with that as well. But hey, maybe he's auditioning for the Dodgers. Maybe the Dodgers want to bring him back, and he hit pretty well in LA this year, or this series. I don't remember what he did. Like this series, he hit pretty well in LA.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone back and forth in my thoughts on what he's going to do. Obviously, like, it hasn't been the same as last year. I feel like I've had to go on social media and defend him as if he's been like as bad as Dansby Swanson this year, and that's just not true. He's still been a really solid hitter. He just hasn't provided the slug that this team has needed, and that's not necessarily his fault. That's more about the front office and the fact that they didn't add more slug like they should have, considering it was just one really good season after like 3 or 4 bad ones. So whatever, that's a whole nother, conversation we can have at some point. We have all off season to do that if you want. But he's played well this series. I think he's been fine. Like, he's been a fine hitter, but that just hasn't been good enough for this team, because this team needs him to be more like what he was last year, and it just hasn't been that way. So I think that's why a lot of fans think he's going to opt in. And even if he does, it's not, I understand, like, it's blocking Owen Casey. This team is going to have to make some trades this offseason either way, whether if he opts in or opts out. It really doesn't matter. They're going to have to make some trades. I don't know who they're going to trade. I don't know who they should trade. I like all the prospects, okay? But Cody Bellinger on this team is still good. It is still a good thing for this organization. And if he opts out, it gives a guy an opportunity. It gives a guy like Owen Casey the opportunity. He's young, he's controllable, he's cheap, and he has a high ceiling. Does he have a higher ceiling than Cody Bellinger? I don't know. I really don't know. I hope so. if that is the scenario that pans out. But they better have an insurance policy too if Casey struggles next year and Belly opts out. So that's why these front offices, Jed, Carter, are paid millions of dollars to be right about that stuff. And that's a big decision if he does opt out or if he does opt in on getting this roster corrected. So that's how I feel about it all.
I know Michael Busch didn't come through at the end of the game there, but the buzzkill had already happened, and I don't know, sure that didn't help matters either. But the two former Dodgers had a pretty good series against their old team. Bellinger with 4 hits, 5 runs, 6 RBI, and 2 home runs. Busch with 5 hits, 4 runs, 4 RBI, and a home run. You think guys like playing against their former team? I know they do. Just watch Bellinger go around the bases after he hit the first home run yesterday. Like he was having a good time, and that's why I thought before Seiya was thrown out, I thought to myself, Busch is going to come up here and tie this game. He might hit a 3-run homer. I'm going to have to change the title of the show, rewrite the description, and we're going to be here till all hours of the morning.
Oh yeah.
And then Craig Counsell came through and said, "No, it's over." I'm just going to By the way, back to that for just a millisecond. If it's PCA and Nico, I'm still not loving the decision to go for the double steal there. I'd rather have my bat win the game than try to steal third. But those are the only 2 guys I'd feel mildly comfortable with trying to go. And if they were thrown out, I'd be just as mad. But Seiya?
Seiya's a good base stealer. He's not PCA, obviously, but
not
the situation.
Base. Yeah, not third base.
With a lefty at the plate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Anyways.
I don't know. I would like to see if anyone gets like what the post game from Craig is. I would also obviously like to, or I would point out that the you're not supposed to make the first and third out at third. Say I made the second, so there was still an opportunity there. Now again, like I said earlier, it's if you're going to be aggressive, okay, I understand it, but you got to be right, and otherwise you see what happens today. Like that's just what it comes down to. It's like you can appreciate the aggressiveness, you can understand why you might want to be aggressive in a situation like that. But at the end of the day, it's just if you're wrong, you're wrong, and you got to wear that.
It really hurt my chances for 90 wins this season. I know they would have to, only lose like 2 more games the rest of the year, but it really hurt my chances for the 90-win season.
I think that the situation makes a lot more sense if like PCA and Horner are on base.
Yeah, exactly.
Bellinger's, he's fast too. Like he has good speed. So like I don't mind that Belly was stealing that situation, but it would have made more sense if Belly's the one on third and not Seiya. Not to say that Seiya is slow, but like
he's 77th percentile sprint speed.
I'm sure Bellinger's not much more, but like, I don't know. It's a very risky call. And I mean, that's, managers wear those. So again, like you guys are saying, once we hear what Craig has to say about that, then we can dissect that, I guess. But yeah, just a tough situation. We'd be celebrating Craig if they got it right and he slid in and they made the comeback and won,
Sure, we'd be like, why not? Why not go for it? The season's over anyway.
Yeah. Why hold anything back now?
Yeah. Seiya's 77th percentile sprint speed. Nico and Bellinger are both 78th. So basically the same.
So they're
basically the same. A little bit.
Basically the same. Yeah.
I mean, like PCA is 99th percentile. So if he's on second base, it almost feels more like a no-brainer. I mean, it'd still be a risk, but
I am surprised that Nico and Seiya are basically the same sprint speed when Nico stole 40 bases last year. And how many is Seiya stolen this year? Like definitely not 20. I don't even know if he's stolen 20 bases this year, like that's a surprising stat to me. So, or yeah,
I could find that real quick.
So
Seiya has stolen 14.
14. Okay.
Mad Mike says, I'm not saying we have a shot, but looking at the Brewers' schedule versus ours, is there a chance we can take the division from the Brewers?
Well, tonight would have been a good chance. You had the opportunity. Milwaukee was getting blown out by the Giants. You would have got to 7.5 games back in the division. And Milwaukee, they have to play like Arizona, the Mets, I think the Padres, or it's the Braves, one of those two teams. Like they would have been able to help you in the wild card race if they won games, or those teams could have been able to help you in the division because considering you get the Rockies this weekend, you get your schedule next week at home isn't hard. You have to play the Phillies at some point, and then you got the last weekend of the series or the last series of the season against the Reds, which I know has kind of been tough this year, but still, like there's opportunity there. It's not an unbeatable team, and just felt like it was just another one of those times where you felt like this team was just almost there, only to just fall right on their faces. Let's just
Well, there's also the fact
it leaves fans just sitting here like, why do I let myself do this?
There's also the fact the Mets went from being no hit for 8 innings to winning that game. They had Toronto, I think, right? So they end up winning today. So not only do you lose the game, you lose a game in the wild card standings. If you're trying to hunt down these teams, the Braves lost, so you maintain wherever your deficit was to them. But the Mets are in the third wild card spot right now. You lose a game on them by not winning today's game. With all that, I mean, 1.3% shot for the Cubs. It has dropped like a full percentage point. It looks like from where it was yesterday.
And I realize it's 12:42 in the morning. But it's sarcasm, folks. I know they're not going to win 90 games this season. I called the season over in June.
Yeah.
That's
I
true.
declared it over in June.
Yeah,
okay? They're not going to win 90 games. You're going to be frustrated like this several more times before this season is over. We did get good news when we were doing the podcast yesterday, early in the morning. At least Porter Hodge is okay. Like Dodgers team doctor checked him out. His heart was racing. Apparently does happen to him. But he was checked out. There's no after effects. Everything's good to go. Still a scary moment. I don't know what to say about it. I'd be terrified if that was happening to me. And it does scare me a little bit that it's happened to him more than once, but I'm not a doctor. So what the heck do I know? Justin Steele, the update was he threw the bullpen session today, and now he's going to throw another one in Colorado. And again, as a non-doctor, I just say, shut him down. Shut him down. Those are my 2 medical updates for the day. I don't know what else to say. Mo with the
Porter Hodge thing.
What's that?
I was going to say, the Porter Hodge thing is a good update. Obviously, we got it.
Yeah.
Right after we finished the show
yesterday.
Scares me. Yeah, for sure. But it's good to know that this is not something that they're concerned with moving forward. Maybe it can happen again, but in a way that feels like they know how to manage it, which is a good thing for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what causes it or doesn't cause it. Maybe he's drinking a Red Bull before he goes out there and he shouldn't be doing that. Maybe he's just getting amped up. Maybe it's like a panic attack. Maybe it's like what Mark DeRosa had, where his heart had to get that little they burn little vessels. I don't even know what they call that, but a tiny little surgery that he had at one point during his season. Mo with a super chat, $5, just tuned in. But what was that? Steele third with lefty batter and Kopech struggling. Why? Oh, why? Mo, we hear you, man. We hear you. That's exactly what I was saying. I just do not understand whatever they were thinking there. And I guess we haven't heard yet from Craig Counsell, but we will in just a little bit. I'll tell you what will make you feel better, and Cody will too. It's our friends at Sunnyside.
Yeah, I'm going to need some Sunnyside after this one, man. Our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary are here to elevate your summer. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from, with easy online ordering and in-store pickup wherever you are in Illinois. Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. Stop in the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff, or select from quality lines like Cresco or Florcal. Here for the summer is the Good News Tea Time disposable vape, bringing classic lemonade flavor that's perfect for the golf course because we all need a little help staying loose on the green. I'd say watching or using it while you're watching the Cubs will also help you get through it. All right. Mindy Siegel's award-winning chocolates is one of my favorites. I know it's one of Corey's favorites. Luke loves to talk about them. You can get them too by visiting sunnyside.shop. For bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases, enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
I also got to tell you guys about Rugged Road. Rugged Road is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the best. Their products are designed with the highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions. Whether you're on land or water, Rugged Road gear is built to accompany you on every adventure. One of the most unique features of Rugged Road coolers is their ability to always float upright. You'll never lose a drink with your Rugged Road cooler. It's also got a lightweight design. Unlike other heavy-duty coolers, Rugged Road coolers are incredibly light, making them easy to transport on any trip without compromising on performance. They're also durable and dependable. They're crafted to handle the toughest environments that the coolers are built to last, ensuring they can keep up with any adventure. The coolers are guaranteed to keep their contents cool for up to 7 days, but oftentimes much longer than that. Rugged Road coolers are perfect for a variety of outdoor activities, from fishing and tubing to camping and tailgating. These coolers are designed to meet the needs of every outdoor or sports enthusiast. So gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers. Durable, reliable, and built to be used, Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code CHGO for 10% off. That's ruggedroadoutdoors.com. Code CHGO for 10% off.
Android in the live YouTube chat says, I'm not really sure waving the white flag in June is a badge of honor. You happen to be right. Good on you. If you need to be wrong, I'm sure you'd have rode the wave into the postseason. The fact is, I'm right.
We're talking about the same guy to this day who's still talking about how he was right about 83 wins last year.
83 wins last year. I told you the season was over in June. I don't know what to tell
but you still predicted 90
I'm not
wins,
saying it's a badge of honor. I'm just telling you I'm right.
You also didn't get Bellinger's signing date right. So there's that too.
That's right. I did have that. You're good.
No, you didn't. You did not. You did not.
Right too.
Oh,
that was your third attempt. You didn't get that one right.
I'm still giving all the credit to Lisa for all of that. Shout out to Lisa. My 2 cents on Porter Hodge. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to talk because I'm watching a dog. I don't know if he was kind of barking earlier and I had to deal with that.
Thought you had a cold.
No. My 2 cents on Porter Hodge is that after hearing the news that came out, it's something I would definitely monitor going forward because it's just not normal. And that's such a serious thing that we saw, like him having to get down on his knee last night. I don't know how you monitor that, how you get that looked at, whatever. I just don't feel like it's something that you just let go. That's all I'm saying. I'm glad that he's fine. Glad he doesn't have to go on the injured list, but it is something that I would monitor if I'm the Cubs moving forward into the further future, into next season, stuff like that. So that's all I really wanted to say about that.
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, obviously, this game was played mostly on the anniversary of 9/11. Thought we'd take a few minutes just to kind of talk about what baseball meant back then, or what it still means today, right? I know we sit here and we joke around a lot about the games don't mean anything, and we don't want to watch, and
that's
all that stuff. But in reality, the games are, for many people, a huge escape. Mm-hmm. And when 9/11 happened and sports stopped, I was working in San Antonio at the time, and we didn't have local news really, basically, for a long. There were no sports, so I just stopped working for a couple of weeks and became a news reporter at the TV station. But when baseball came back, it was like this piece of our freedom that was kind of given back to us. Like the people that lost loved ones in the airplanes, in the buildings, in the first responders that died in that. Those people, their lives are never going to be the same, right? And for most Americans that were alive then or old enough to know what was going on, parts of their lives will never be the same. But for the people that were truly impacted by loved ones that were lost, baseball coming back didn't change anything. But for many people around the country, it was a sign that we will bounce back. It was a sign of for some people, it was just a distraction. And, you can say what you want about Sammy Sosa, but that was one of the greatest moments in Cubs history when he ran with the flag. It was. And so it was. I know you guys are younger than I was. It's a moment in time that you will never forget, right? Like my parents will never forget. I'll never forget where I was when Ronald Reagan was shot. That dates me a little bit. I was on the playground in grade school. My parents will never forget where they were, for Kennedy being shot. Grandparents will never forget where they were when Pearl Harbor happened. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing I can really possibly compare it to in my mind, because it's the biggest thing I've ever lived through, right? Like I can't imagine being there. I remember the White Sox were there when it happened in New York to play a game. But man, I just hope people don't forget. I'm glad baseball recognized it again, and I'm glad that for a while baseball was at least a distraction from the most serious thing that was going on in our lives. And it's like I said, it's none of that impacts the people that have to go through every day remembering loved ones that passed away and were taken away from us. But for the rest of us, we won't forget them, and we'll honor them that way. But baseball was a piece of healing. And I think it's, right now we're in this political thing where we're going back and forth and the country's torn, like completely ripped in half over stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. But at 9/11, at 9/11, nobody was asking anybody, are you Democrat? Are you Republicans? The first responders weren't asking, who are you voting for? They ran in there and tried to save the people and gave up their lives. So if there was anything that came out of it that was at least, it's not a silver lining, but it's something that was like that you could at least think that was positive about humanity. It was that people were trying to pick other people up.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cody.
I was just going to say, I don't remember what, 2001. So I was like 10. Yeah. I was like 10 years old. And I tweeted this earlier tonight. Like on this day, in 2001, I just remember going to school and then being happy I got to come home from school because I was a 10-year-old kid and didn't understand what was going on. My mom made me watch the news.
Best.
Yeah, exactly. But I think my mom wanted me to watch it, and she just wanted me to, I don't know, she just wanted me to see it, I guess, because she knew that this was like an important day in American history, or would be. And, as time has gone on, it obviously has become very important that we recognize this day and how much it affected this country and stuff. And from going back to then, like, I remember that World Series in 2001 was like truly the first time that I really became a baseball fan. Like I tell people all the time, like, 1998 is how I became a Cubs fan, or I started watching baseball because I was a small child who liked watching Sammy Sosa hit tanks onto Waveland, like any other kid who likes seeing guys hit homers. But I didn't really follow the Cubs like every single game or anything like that. Watching the World Series in 2001 after 9/11 and all of that play out, like that's the only time I ever rooted for the Yankees in my entire life. And then I realized that they win all the time and I hated that. But like Derek Jeter was like the face of baseball at the time, or he was one of the faces of baseball. And, there was something about them that made me root for them just because of what happened on 9/11 as a 10-year-old kid. And, from honestly, after that season, I really started following the Cubs a lot more after that. So, yeah, like what you said, Luke, it was a way of like unity and, a distraction, I guess, from what was going on globally with related to that and everything. And, everyone uses sports as something to like kind of get away from all of the crap, the issues that we have in this country, the world, whatever. Back then, probably that was something that, without me even realizing, it was something that I guess you could say that I did too. So, yeah, baseball really did acknowledge it in a way that it created a new fans even.
Yeah, I mean, I have no recollection of it. I was 4 going on 5. I think I was 5 in a couple. Well, I mean, I'm 5 in a couple weeks. So, I'm 28 in a couple weeks, but I was 4 going on 5 at that point. So I don't have any memory of that day already. I like the ensuing days, weeks, months, whatever. But you watch the documentaries, you watch the videos, you hear the stories, you read the stories. It's always like, obviously always important to remember that day for what it was, for what happened on the day, but also, as you guys have kind of said, for remembering how it strengthened the country, strengthened the people in this country moving after that. I think that's also important to acknowledge, is that it as terrible as it was, it showed how this country can get strength from even the darkest moments, and unite and show why this is a great country. As far as the baseball stuff goes, you mentioned Sammy running around with the American flag. Like, that's a very important moment. Was it the Mets? The Mets had, like, Piazza had a walk-off or something, like, very quick.
Home run. Yeah.
Yeah, like very soon after that. I think that was like the first sporting event in New York after that.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Every game when they would sing God Bless America, it was like this emotional roller coaster for the rest of the season. Like, literally for the rest of the season. Like, people were breaking down and crying every time they would sing that at a baseball game. And you could see players. Today, I was driving down the road, and I was thinking, I was actually thinking about 9/11, and I looked up, and there was a huge airplane banking a big turn from O'Hare over the area. And I was just like, I mean, to watch that I saw the second plane go into the tower on live television. I randomly turned on the TV, didn't know anything was going on, and saw the news, and they were talking about a plane hit, but I didn't realize what it was. And when you see the second one hit, your stomach drops. You don't know. You're thinking, like, is this Pearl Harbor? Like, am I safe where I'm at? Everybody's terrified. People are running. You don't know if you're ever going to fly again. You don't know if you're ever going to be safe again. You don't know if more of these attacks are coming. Like, it was the scariest time. I can't describe to people that weren't alive or didn't know. Like, it's hard to grasp what that day was like, but I can just tell you that the country changed that day. Like, it's still not the same as it was. We've done a great job of taking back the freedoms that we have. But it's still different. Like, and it should be, because when you really go back and look, or like you said, if you watch the documentaries and stuff and you see what people went through, man, that was, so anyways, I saw that plane, and I got choked up driving the car, just looking at an airplane, thinking about it. And it's like, man, baseball and sports really they had an impact, and it's just a sport. They're just games, but it is nice to have that escape.
I like the comment that Mike put in the in the chat, Mike Prasnowski, comes to a lot of our Friday 120 clubs. He says, no matter what you think of George W. Bush, the first pitch at Yankee Stadium is one of the most powerful moments in American history. And yeah, it's like I've seen that highlight so many times, and I would agree. It was definitely a moment. So yeah. But as far as the Cubs, when Sammy ran out to right field with the flag, he hit a homer later in the game, ran around the bases with the flag. That's iconic stuff.
It's an iconic moment, yeah.
It was iconic.
Yeah. So anyways, we remember all the people that were greatly impacted by that, our whole country impacted by it. We have more baseball to talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow's an off day, right?
Tomorrow is an off day.
So the Cubs will get into Colorado early in the morning, have the day off, then play the Rockies. Tomorrow's podcast, though, is at a funny time, 5:30. Is that correct?
Yes.
Believe so.
Okay. Yes. So for those of you that want to tune in live and join the live YouTube chat, which is the best way to enjoy the CHGO experience, 5:30 is our scheduled time coming up. I say tomorrow. I now mean tonight. 5:30 on Thursday night. That's when the next live podcast will be. Haven't totally decided which angle we're going to go with yet on that show.
No, I do have something real quick. This is from about the ninth inning of stolen base attempts.
Okay, here we go.
From Megan Montemurro, the Chicago Tribune. The decision to attempt to steal third base in the ninth was made by Suzuki, who said he had timed up Kopech's rhythm with his delivery and thought he hadn't been paying attention to him on second base. Suzuki added he had the green light on CS. I would assume that means caught stealing, but he had the green light. In quotes, that was my mistake. That changed the momentum of the game.
At least he acknowledges that is a mistake. We
were wrong. I mean, we're wrong. I guess we were wrong to assume that
sorry, Craig,
from the bench.
Yeah, people are still going to blame Craig, but that's fine.
Craig wins again. No,
we can blame Craig for bringing Wing Minter in or whatever. I don't know.
Well,
I'm being sarcastic about that, by the way. So
regardless of who, obviously, whether it was Craig, obviously we know it wasn't Craig. It was Suzuki's call. Suzuki went on his own accord. Again, it just comes back down to what I said. Like, if you're going to do it in that situation, you have to be right. Because if you're wrong, and you got to wear it. Again, you can understand the want to be aggressive, the whatever logic you give it. But at the end of the day, if you're wrong, you're wrong. And that's where the criticism comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree with Ghost. I don't know why you have the green light in the first place, but given the green light, you better be right. Like Dempster said, like Ryan just said here too. Yeah, he's got to wear it. It was a terrible decision. Terrible decision.
Yeah.
Like they do the little things poorly.
Yeah.
They do the little things poorly.
Of the comment that's on the screen now, lost count of Seiya mistakes that cost us the game. I was getting ready to say the good news is it's not going to be one that fans remember the most. Everyone's just always going to look back at Atlanta and last year. That's the one that's always going to stick with them the most. Even though the reasoning is incredibly stupid, but that's another story. But yeah, man, it's one of those, like Ryan said, you got to, if he gets in, they get the double steal, and then whatever happens after, if they lose, we're blaming someone else, right?
Well, it's like, yeah,
it's just that's what it is. It's one of those situations. Like, yeah, you're down 2 though. Like it just doesn't. It's not a good decision. Point blank.
It's period. Like for me, it's like if he's in and he's safe, I'm still probably sitting here like, oof, I wouldn't have done that. But fortunately for him, he was safe, right? Like that's just in hindsight. Like it's like that's a very risky decision to go in that situation with a left-handed hitter up, like we talked about earlier. It's risky, and I mean, baseball. Sometimes you got to take risks, but sometimes you also don't. And I don't think that's a situation I would have personally done it in. And clearly, you see what happens when you risk an out at third base and you get thrown out.
Yeah,
It wasn't the only reason they lost, right, Cody? They gave up 5 homers. But
yeah, PCA getting into a rundown. Yeah.
Reason.
Yeah, and Sean Armstrong giving them the lead. And then how do you say the reliever that came in?
Wingenter, I'm pretty
sure. Wingenter is what I've heard. The great Pat Hughes calls him Wingenter.
I knew very little about the guy. When I learned that he was throwing 97 and 98 tonight, I was like, okay, I can buy myself into this guy. And then Tommy Edman hit another homer. Which, speaking of Tommy
Edmonds, he's a Cubs
homers in 2 days.
First off, noted Cubs killer at this point. He killed the Cubs when he was with the Cardinals. But also, how does he hit homers? Why can't Nico Hoerner hit homers like he does? And I know it's only 4, and I know
they're all against the Cubs.
But he's been hurt this year. He's hit homers against the Cubs before too. He was a teammate with Nico Hoerner at Stanford. Someone give Nico Hoerner some steroids or something. Is this guy on steroids? I'm spiraling over something that cannot be fixed. I don't understand it. This team needs more slug. The Dodgers have enough slug. They have Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Max Muncy, and now you got, no offense, Ryan, a guy the size of you hitting 4 homers in 2 days.
Oh, you relax over there.
He's literally
at 106 in the morning. 106 in the morning.
I bench more than you.
I'm not saying you're not. You don't. I'm just saying that he's literally like the same height as you. He's a very small human.
Offense taken.
All right. Well, it's not the first time. It won't be the last time. The point is the guy is not the size of like a Shohei Ohtani or Max Muncy, yet he hits 4 homers in 2 days. And it makes absolutely no sense. I can't get Nico Hoerner to become a 15 to 20 home run guy when he's literally bigger than the guy. So whatever. It doesn't make sense.
I can't explain it either. I can't.
It doesn't make sense, man.
It's still the
what are they teaching there in LA, man?
It's still the lingering Cardinals devil magic, I think.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah.
All right. So 5:30 tomorrow, next podcast. And then the Rockies and Cubs will start up a new series on Friday. And we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it goes. You got to start sweeping everybody now.
I retweeted our friends at DMVR today. They were talking about Chris Bryant's future. If anyone wants to go check that out, if anyone cares. So it's on CHGO Cubs Twitter timeline. You have to scroll down a bit because it was earlier today, or you can just search them on your podcast platforms. But yeah, if you care.
Will do. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. Thanks to everybody in the live YouTube chat at 1:08 in the morning. You're the best. We appreciate you, and we thank you. Until tomorrow at 5:30. Thanks for watching, and fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.